How is everyone doing today? Welcome back to On The Ball and welcome back to another transfer update. And first up, we are going to Old Trafford with Donny van der Beek, as Fabrizio Romano says that Real Sociedad are now in direct contact with Manchester United over the transfer of Donny van der Beek. And, you know, you cast your mind back to when Donny signed for Manchester United on the back of a really good time with AJAX in that team that got to the semi-finals of the Champions League against Tottenham. Now he's got his manager that he had at Ajax in Erik ten Hag. What's gone wrong with him there?
I think it might be a classic example of a player who's perfect for a system, but once you take him out of the system, he's not nearly as effective. And I think, you know, you've got to remember, United signed him for near 50 million back when they got him through the door a few years ago. And then you would have thought, yeah, it hasn't worked out for him. But then Ten Hag comes through the door, the person who got the best out of him at Ajax. You would think, okay, perfect appointment for someone like Van der Beek to really start to flourish. And it's even gotten worse for him since Ten Hag has gotten there. And you have to wonder why that is. I just think he's maybe not suited for the Premier League. I think he's a number 10 who at Ajax was really good at the passing and moving and getting into the spaces and being part of that structure. But when it comes to the Premier League, I think maybe the physicality is too much for him, and I don't think he's a real effective goal contribution machine like someone like a Bruno is in the number 10 position either. So I think it's led to a situation where they don't really have a use for him. I don't think you can play him in the deep positions either because I don't think he's got the physicality for it. He doesn't get the goal contributions to play in the 10. So I think it leads to a position where Man United fans just don't think much of him.
And you probably think that a move to Real Sociedad and a move out to La Liga is probably a move that kind of suits all parties. I think he'll probably suit the style there out in Spain. Man U get a fee for, get some money back, and Sociedad probably get a good player that will probably do well in La Liga.
The guy needs a fresh start. I think that's clear to see.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. And this story is one of the funny ones of the transfer window. It goes for CARLO Borges of Man City. Romano says that Ajax have hijacked West Ham's £14 million move for Manchester City winger Carlos Borges and are set to complete the deal to sign him. Ajax will sign him for £17 million. Man City will have a buyback clause and a sell-on clause. The West Ham target completed his Ajax medical overnight. The deal is done. The club statement will come later today. It looked, though, for all to see a few days ago that he was on his way to West Ham, and West Ham were going to get their first signing of the summer. But it looks like those West Ham fans have got a little bit of more weight on their hands.
They can't catch a break, can they, right now, West Ham? Even signing a youngster from Man City, they're not even able to do. For Carlos Borges' point of view, I actually think Ajax is a better move for him. I think it's better for his development. A young winger, learn how to play in an attacking system, will play Champions League football as well. The way Ajax train their teams is much better for the development of attacking players than playing under David Moyes, that's for sure. I could definitely see a situation if he signed for West Ham where you know, they're playing a lot of counter-attacking football and all of a sudden he can stunt his development a bit. So I think Ajax is the perfect move for him. West Ham got to be a bit gutted because they're the only Premier League team who have made a signing, and that weight goes on. So that's got to be a bit heartbreaking and definitely worrying signs right now because all their targets, they're getting bids rejected for Ward-Prowse as well. It's just not really coming together for West Ham right now off the back of they've sold Declan Rice as well. So they've got a lot of work to do if they're going to improve on last season.
Yeah, it looks like Scamacca's going as well. I mean, we brought you the news about Paquetá being not happy at West Ham, but it seems as though those were just false rumours as he came out and said fake news. But look, like we've said in previous videos, you've got to be worried if you're a West Ham fan with the way this transfer window is going. Let's move on. Let's talk about a done deal going from Southampton. That is Mohammed Salisu. He has joined Monaco for €15 million on a 5-year contract. That is officially announced and a completely done deal. What do you think about this move?
I think it's a great move. I think actually Salisu could have got a Premier League move. I actually think he's been quite good for Southampton. Again, Southampton had a lot of talented young players, and for one reason or other, they didn't click for them last season, and they end up getting relegated. Maybe they had too many young players, needed some experience. But in terms of individual quality, Salisu's a really strong centre-back who's comfortable on the ball, really aggressive, left-footed as well, still only 24 years of age. And I actually think Monaco have got a really good replacement for Disasi, signing someone like Salisu. But he's going to play week in, week out Liga football, and I think it's good. It's a really good move for him, and players seem to really develop quite well at Monaco. They seem to be really good at nurturing young talent. I would not be surprised in a couple of years he's on the move again to a bigger club.
Another done deal, another player going out to Saudi, and that is Sadio Mane. That is another one that has been officially announced. Al Nassr have signed Sadio Mane for 30 million euros. So Bayern Munich building up those coffers for maybe a certain striker.
Yeah, potentially. That's definitely going to help in their pursuit of Harry Kane. Obviously, it's a shame that Mane, got a big move to Bayern Munich last season. You thought, as much, it's not like a step up, but it's a new chapter in his career. Bayern have got a really good player who's been one of the best players in the Premier League over the last few seasons. Just hasn't worked out for one reason or another. He's got into fights with his teammates. Tuchel hasn't seemed to take to him, and since he took over as well, you've got to remember they had a change of manager when Nagelsmann left. So it's all kind of gone a bit flat for him. And look, he's got this opportunity from Saudi. I'm guessing he seems it's too good to turn down. It's a shame that someone of Mane's quality at 31 is going over to Saudi Arabia, but is the nature of the business right now.
Yeah, it really is. And you also, with Sadio Mane, man, you cast your mind back to when he left Liverpool. It was a bit of a shock move at the time, going out to Bayern Munich, leaving the Premier League when he was still an absolute star in the Premier League. And it just hasn't gone right for him, has it, since leaving Liverpool? And do you reckon he regrets that move now?
I don't think he regrets. I think maybe a bit, but I think at the end of the day, he had 1 year left. He'd kind of done everything he could at Liverpool. I don't think he can have any regrets. Maybe he's a bit disappointed that how his career has gone since leaving Liverpool. But I think even his last season at Liverpool, I'm not saying he was declining, but something wasn't right. I think we could all see that, and I think he wanted a change. So I wouldn't say he regrets it, but I would say he's definitely disappointed with the fact that 2 years later he's in Saudi. That's got to be a disappointment.
Yeah. All right, let's move on, and some more talks going on with bringing players into the Premier League, and this time it's Jeremy Doku, as Sasha Tavoleri saying that Barcelona and Man City are both interested in signing Rennes winger Jeremy Doku. This is a player which I think he's got supreme talent, especially elite dribbling ability, and I think he'd be a great signing for either Man City or Barcelona, but I'd be really excited to see him in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think from Man City's point of view, I think they need wingers. Doku can play on the left or the right. I think he's, again, a player who's just on the verge of exploding. It hasn't quite happened yet, but all his underlying statistics are just incredible in terms of like his amount of dribbles he makes per game, his expected goals, the goal positions he's taking up. He's still so young as well. He's still, 21 years of age. So I think this guy's got a massive future. Man City, also, not only do they need a winger, he brings something different to Grealish, Foden and Bernardo on the wing. Real pace, real one-on-one dribbling ability in those kind of wide areas. So if they want to mix things up and bring on a real attacking threat off the bench, Doku's like the perfect guy. So I think Doku to Man City makes a bit of sense, albeit you would have thought potentially he was being linked to the likes of Aston Villa. Maybe a club like at Villa's levels, maybe a better fit right now, just so for his development. He knows starting week in, week out in the Premier League and getting more game time, whereas at Man City, you envisage it's going to be very difficult for him to nail down a first-team spot. But we've seen it with Guardiola before. He takes a winger. It takes him maybe a year to get acclimatised, and after a year, they're flying. Yeah. So maybe that would be that would also be a very good move for him in the long term. There's
also rumours of Chelsea as well. They need a winger as well going into the next season. I feel like potentially Poch could be a very good manager for him as well. You know how he likes to nurture talent, and I think he would get quite a lot of game time at Chelsea if he was there next season.
I think so, because he's battling with Madueke, who's a similar boat to him, and I think Doku would fancy his chances in that battle.
Yeah. Let's move on and let's talk about CASTELLO LUKEBA. Romano says that Leipzig have submitted a €32 million offer for the Lyon centre-back CASTELLO LUKEBA, ideally to replace Gvardiol, who is Manchester City bound, but we believe that bid has been rejected, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's what reports are saying now. So 32 million is going to have to be more. The bid's going to have to be high. I'm assuming they're looking at that money and thinking, look, the Gvardiol money's coming. I think we can get more than that. Leipzig aren't a poor club either, even though they do things in a certain way where, in terms of the talent they buy, they don't usually... They spend money, but they don't usually spend hundreds of millions. They buy them cheap and sell them high. That's how they like to go. And LUKEBA, at his age, at his potential quality, they're thinking that maybe they'll sign him, and in a few years' time, they might get a Gvardiol-style fee for someone like LUKEBA. So I think if they up that bid, I think it would be worth it, in my opinion, because 20 years of age, I think Leipzig's the perfect place. You've seen it with Upamecano, how they developed him. They've seen now with Gvardiol, how they've developed him. I think LUKEBA's the next one in line.
Yeah, and you're looking at LUKEBA, right? If they sign him now for, let's say, 40, 45 million, whatever it may be, you'd assume that in 3 years' time, 2-3 years' time, he's probably another one that's going to go for 80 to 100 million.
Exactly.
Next up, João Cancelo. We brought you the news that Barcelona have made him a priority and they are preparing their bid as per Fabrizio Romano. And Javi said in a quote saying, we need a pure right back. Is João Cancelo a pure right back?
I wouldn't call him a pure right back because obviously his best performances arguably come from the left-hand side at Man City, that kind of inverted fullback kind of role, coming into midfield, making up the extra numbers and being quite effective in the final third in the half spaces. That's maybe where his best work has come. But I'm sure Barcelona can kind of adjust to that. I'm sure he's been playing a right back when in the few appearances for Man City in pre-season. I think for Bayern Munich as well, he was playing a lot on the right-hand side. So it's not a position that's alien to him as well. At Juventus, he was a natural right-hand sided player. So it's definitely a position he knows well. But I just think his best performances have come from the left. Doesn't mean that Barca can't get those performances out of him from the right-hand side. So I think it's the perfect signing for someone like Barcelona. Yeah,
absolutely. He's a player with supreme talent, and I think he'll fit right into the way Barcelona like to play. And with someone who's equally as good on the right or on the left, I mean, it's a great option to have, that's for sure. And the last but not least, let's talk about Marco Verratti, another one who could be going out to Saudi. RMC Sport are claiming that the price has been set by PSG, and they want between 50 and 60 million euros to allow Marco Verratti to join Saudi team Al Hilal.
Yeah, and you imagine that fee's not going to be too much of an issue for them. Like for a player of his quality and that profile, to get him for 60 million, yes, you're at 30 years of age, you can argue it's a bit of an overpayment, but I don't think Saudi care if you can bring over someone of that quality to the league and improve the profile. So I expect that to be done. If PSG are happy, if Verratti's happy, I don't think money's going to be an obstacle here.
Yeah, so another top talent going over to Saudi, following the many players that have gone there already this summer. But that is your transfer update for today. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts regarding all those news stories we brought to you today, and we'll see you next time.